They say black is the color of death. The lighter the skin, that's what gives you respect. But I will forever normalize the melanin on my chest because it's something beautiful God let me possess. I reflect on my black history, and instantly, I can't get past the misery. And I can't learn about my people because they won't teach it to me. I speak of their prehistory, before slavery, a time where we didn't sit on auction blocks, where they sold us off to the little white men with big prides who would beat my brothers and rape their wives, a time where we didn't have to fight racist cops and watch them sit in court and lie and say it wasn't their fault. Cops want to be Superman but do more crime than the Joker. When they see us, they grab their holsters. Among us, blue is the imposter. Y'all have fostered your own idea of what it means to be a protector. Say their names: Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Eric Gardner. 3 of many people at the hands of our quote-unquote protector. Their bodies displayed on Fox for the world to see. Mr. Incredible Cop has added on to the list of another black being shot. Let's stop for a minute and understand our historic dynamic, because some still don't get it. We went from slavery to marching in the streets for blacks to be treated equally, and finally police brutality. Kind of sounds like we got the bad end of the stick, because how does our enemy keep taking different forms like this? Black history, some of it's a mystery. It seems like we know only about our pain and suffering. And don't get me started on America's enrooted misogyny. Black women, we can't catch a break, and black girls, we can't make mistakes, born into a world designed for us to never elevate. With the DNA of our ancestors who were beaten and raped, the lashes on their backs, a reminder of their mistakes. Awake. Another little black girl is born into a world with inequality storm that doesn't seem to let up. Black men, keep your head up. Dr. King had a dream, and it wasn't for you to give up. It's tough to walk around in your melanin-enriched skin, because some people will never understand the struggles we'll live in. Just for being a person of color. But like Maya Angelou spoke, we rise. Like the waves pushing against the boats that brought us over. Like Martin, we dream and create culture present in the music industry. Like Malcolm, we fight, because we understand that this system wasn't designed for all people to have equal rights. Like Rosa, we stay planted. So any storm that tries to knock us down, we are strengthened by our roots that are implanted. Like Harriet, we stand up, because we live in a time where we have to scream Black Lives Matter, and they still don't understand us. My black people, my black individuals, we have been knocked down and turned around so we can't grow as a people. Whenever there is division, remember, one door closes, another one opens. With every struggle we have faced, we have overcome. That's why our history is so important, and why every daughter and every son have to know where they came from. Black history shouldn't just be taught this month, but engraved in us very young. And so they understand that their melanin was a gift from their God through the sun. I am a revolutionary, and this is a revolution.
Tamia Lee Talks, baby.
So, welcome back, guys, to the Tamia Lee Talks Podcast. I am here today with Miss Kia Alexander. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so just to give a little background on Kia Alexander, she is a social worker. She also has a private practice, and she is also a podcaster like me. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit, Kia. So introduce to everyone who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kia Alexander. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in New Jersey. I also, full-time, I'm a school social worker at a school in Plainfield. Like Tamia said, I have a podcast, and that's called the Sleepy Social Worker Podcast. And my private practice is called Journey to Peace, and that is in the Middlesex County, Somerset County area.
Cool. So first, let's get into what is a social worker for those who may not know what that career is about.
That's a good question. So a lot of people think that social workers are people that work for DIFAS or DCP&P as they're now called, and we just take kids away. But that is not always the case. There's different types of social workers. So initially when I started, when I finished grad school, before I finished, I did an internship at a domestic violence agency. And I did counseling for survivors of domestic violence. I worked at the safe house where some of the women who escaped violent relationships lived. And it was just that I really wanted to go into domestic violence, but the pay wasn't that great. So I changed my mind. And then what else did I do? There's hospital social work where, say if you have, like you see in the movies where a child or maybe even adult comes in and they're bruised or whatever in the emergency room, the social worker may come and talk to them. There's school social workers like me. We're not allowed to do like official counseling therapy in the school setting, but it's kind of hard to do that when that's your background. And then there's social workers who have private practices, again, like myself, where we do therapy. Everybody has their own niche or their own thing that they like their own population that they like to work with. And mine specifically, I work with adults. It's just adults are sometimes easier to work with, to talk to and stuff like that. So a social worker can be many things. You could be a therapist, you could work in a school, you could work at a hospital, you could work at a nonprofit organization. It's different stuff.
Okay, so I'm all about education and stuff like that, as you know, because I am a senior right now, but I'm so happy to say that. But anyway, so where did you go to college and the degrees that you have?
Okay, so initially I started off at Hampton.
Okay.
The real HU. But that didn't work out. And then I came home. I went to Middlesex for 2 years. Then I went to Rutgers for undergrad for, initially I started as a psych major, but I'm not good at math. So I switched to Africana Studies.
Oh, cool.
All about us. And then I went to grad school at Rutgers.
Okay.
Master's in social work. And I'm thinking about going back for a doctorate in social work.
Oh, wow. So social work is a career path that you know, that you love. Like it's something that you love to do. So when you went into being a social worker at a school, how was that? Like dealing with kids compared to dealing with, I know you talked about with domestic violence and, women and stuff like that.
Initially, I didn't even want to be a school social worker because I just didn't want to. But once I started, I work at an elementary school, and it's so rewarding. Like the kids, I don't know if I would be saying the same thing if I was at like a middle school or a high school, but little kids, they have so much love and so much, they want to do well. They want to be happy. They want to do like the right thing. And it's a huge difference from working at the domestic violence agency because you're always like in crisis mode there. But at the school, like it was at the time when I started, it was only like 200 kids. Now it's like a little closer to 400. But
That you see
it just,
all the time?
oh no, I don't see them all the time. Like
Oh, okay.
that's in the school, but the kids, I don't even know how many kids I see daily. Like some, depending on the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
I could see the same kid every day, but that's
Mm-hmm.
classroom management issue. But anyway, I like the kids. I like the little kids. Um, it's rewarding and it's
Mm-hmm.
fun with the little kids, and they're so cute. Like with the little performances that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like my first few years, every time they had a performance, I'd be crying. at, the, at the shows, I'm like, why am I crying? These aren't even my kids.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
So how has that affected you, as far as with the things that we're dealing with the pandemic, COVID-19 and stuff like that? Has things definitely changed for you? Because I know that you're not in the school system.
Yeah, absolutely. So the kids are all virtual for now.
Mm-hmm.
I go in last week we didn't go in at all, but this week I'll go in like 2 days a week. Then next week it'll be 3 days a week. Um, it's interesting because I don't think we were ready for this. I don't think anybody was ready for this. To be completely virtual, and parents have to work. And it's hard for you like to send your kid to a babysitter and have expectations that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get a lot of complaints that they don't have Wi-Fi, so we have to get them Wi-Fi. The district doesn't always want to pay for that, so it's like it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's affected me. Like initially when we first came home in March of 2020, it was rough. I have to say that it was rough.
If you don't mind, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I can admit that I was like, I don't want to say I was depressed, but I wasn't far from it, because like there was a meme that was out that said, I didn't go a lot of places, but I like to go to some places.
Yeah.
I felt like that everything was just taken from me. Like I can't go where I want to go when I want to go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And even on my podcast, I talked about not being able to wear lipstick, which I like to wear lipstick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a huge adjustment, and it was just difficult. And then for the parents, like they're all in a crisis mode, and they want you to help them right now. And at the time, like we didn't have the tools that we have now, so it's like I know you need help, but I don't know how to help you. And then
because it was like we all didn't know what to do, and it was like we were all like thrown into this time of just uncertainty, no guidance, nothing to do. But if you don't mind, how did that affect your children? Like the kids that you saw every day?
I think it was sad because the first time we came back, I think it was in September, it was only the kids that have special education needs that came. Okay. And a lot of them have autism, ADHD, and stuff like that. And I saw this one kid that we always like say hello to each other. Occasionally he'll give me a hug. Mm-hmm. And when we saw each other in September, I could tell he wanted to hug me. Then he put his hands down, and then he would go again. And I was like, just give me a hug, because like, in my mind, how do I know you're not getting hugs at home? Yeah. Or like somebody showing you love. Yeah. And that's I think my personality, I'm an affectionate person. Yeah. And that's another thing that's difficult for me now, because I can't hug anybody. I can't I miss that. And you don't realize how much you miss it until it's gone.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just, I know it's emotional talking about it, because I think we all like the connection, being able to touch that person that we love, and being able to even lay eyes on them, or just to feel their warmth, because that's how we go about life. So when we weren't able to do that, and some of us weren't able to be around the people that we love for whatever reason, it's hard. It is. And with the pandemic, especially on children, that's why I talked to you a little bit about like what was the mental state in for you as a social worker dealing with kids who doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, they don't. And it's like some of them you could tell, like they'll be in the classroom, like in the virtual classroom, and they'll just be like saying random stuff, and you're like, you just talk, so just go ahead and just say whatever, because they don't have, like, they just see their family, they're not seeing their friends at school. So I'm sure it's an adjustment, and I'm sure once we're back, like officially back in the school, it's going to be another adjustment for them.
Yeah. So I guess we talked a little bit about it. My next question was going to be like, what's happening now for you as a social worker? Because I know you have a private practice that you started. Did you start this in the pandemic, or?
I did.
You started in the pandemic. Okay.
Yeah. So I had the name for it. Like, I registered the business and everything in 2019, in July of 2019. And then I don't know what happened. I just wasn't like paying attention to it. And then I just started. Like, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for real. And I think it was right before, let's say February. And then it started kicking off in April. And now I have around 25 clients.
Wow.
And I'm still, it's difficult because I get calls or emails all week, and the person I am, I want to help everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't have time to help everybody. So I'm like, oh, I can take you, but there's a waiting list, and I'm like, how am I going to figure this out? So yeah, it sucks that the pandemic happened and is happening, but it was very good for me in my practice. Yeah.
So what's some of the services that your private practice offers to your clients that you have now?
So it's mainly just therapy. So I do cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay.
Which is how your mind affects your thoughts, and in turn affects your behavior.
Okay, pause here. I just want to say I was so glad you broke down what that was, because for some people who are listening, like me, I'm not into therapy and stuff like that. So yeah, if you could just make sure, big definition, explain. Okay, big word, explain. Go ahead.
Okay. So that's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. And I like it. It's my favorite modality to use. And most of my clients, I think my youngest is 17, and my oldest is 65 or so. And I have all my clients are Black, not on purpose, but that's just what it is. Most of my clients, if not all of them, have said that they were looking for a Black female.
Okay.
And that it was hard to find me, which that makes me feel good that I'm able to help my people, because that's really what I wanted to do, is help my people, feel better and be better. And I'm blessed to be able to do this. But most of it is like self-esteem, anxiety, depression. Those are the main.
And I talked a little bit about on my podcast, like an episode before, about mental health. I did an episode on that, and mental health and areas just dealing with our minds and how we feel and stuff like that. A lot of times people don't like to get help and seek help, or they just don't have the resources. So it's good that I'm talking to you now. What I wanted to do was talk to you about your private practice. So what are some things, what does your daily life look like now? I know you say you're very busy.
So initially, I told myself I was only going to take clients Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evenings. Okay. Now I'm doing it Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I want to help everybody. So it's hard for me to say no, which I have to get better at doing that. So I start my day with my full-time job at the school. That's 8 to 3:05. And then I see my first client usually at 5. And then
so you have a 2-hour window.
Yes.
For yourself.
Yeah. And then I'm done at 9.
5 to 9?
Yeah.
Wow.
I see usually 4 clients. Like last week I was booked because I took, the holidays off. And this week is pretty much the same thing. Tomorrow is 5 to 9. Wednesday is 5 to 9. They're all this whole week, 5 to 9, 5 to 9.
Wow.
And I see one group for like 2 hours. One session is 2 hours. But normally I see a client for 50 minutes.
Okay.
These particular people asked for a double session.
So what does it mean for you when you are doing these what I call them consultations or therapy sessions with people?
Therapy session.
So when you are doing the therapy sessions, what does it mean for you when you are talking to your clients, and how do you disconnect from their problems or their situations with your life?
It took time. It took a lot of time. So in 2012 is when I graduated with my master's.
Okay.
And before, I think I was at the domestic violence agency from 2010 to 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, like my first couple of clients, they would start crying and I would start crying.
That's me. You cry, I'm crying too.
But now, I don't, like a client could be boo-hooing in front of me. Like all of the stuff. I don't want to be gross, but everything.
Yeah, all the emotions, all the...
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, all right. And it's not that I don't feel whatever they're feeling. It's I have to be the professional and let you know that I'm here for you. I can't be crying with you. You know what I mean? So depending on the situation, I'm able to just totally disconnect. But there are a few clients that stick with me and that I think about, like, how am I going to help this person? Can I help this person? You know, I have to help this person. So it takes time to like be able to disconnect.
So what do you do in your, I guess, your spare time? Is that how you got into podcasting?
Is that? No, it's just something that I always wanted to do.
Okay.
And because of my personality, like, it's something I could do behind the scenes and nobody has to see me.
Yeah.
And I could be, you know, myself. And like some people, when they listen to it, they're like, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you don't talk to me. So maybe that's why you don't know who I really am. But in my spare time, I think it goes along with the name of my podcast. I like to sleep.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of spare time. I like to sleep in as much as possible. Like, I know that I'm off from my full-time job on Monday, and I look forward to sleeping in. But before, like, all the pandemic and everything, I like to hang out with my friends, with my line sisters. I like to listen to music. I like to read.
So as far as your therapy and your private practice, do you want to one day become face-to-face with these clients? Or are you... Okay.
Sorry. I would, as long as it's safe. Like, it would have to be super duper safe. Like, I had an office that I started subletting in March of last year, but I never ended up going in there because we were shut down. And then in December, the person that I was subletting from, she gave up the lease. So now I have a virtual address, because with the insurance companies, you have to have like a physical address in order to take clients. But eventually, I would love to see them in person.
Okay. So let's get into the self-care tips.
Okay.
We're all about self-care. Okay. And I know we talked a lot about the cons of the pandemic, but can you go a little bit into some of the things that you found as a positive while being in your own space, and go into, I guess, from there, self-tips for people?
Yeah. So I think the benefit of the pandemic is that a lot of people like found themselves or figured out things that they wanted to work on or needed to work on. I feel like the buzzwords for 2020 were like manifestation and vibes, and
I'm all about manifestation. We're gonna get to that question in a minute. Go ahead.
But I think it's important that one of the things that I tell all my clients to do is called a brain dump.
Okay.
And it's a type of journaling where you take like 3 to 5 minutes and you just write whatever comes to mind. Like, don't try to be perfect. Don't try to stop anything from coming out. Just write whatever comes to mind. And then you put it away for like a week or so and come back to it. And it's something I do, like if I'm feeling anxious or if I'm upset about something, and then I'll go back to it later and I'm like, wow, like, yeah, it wasn't that serious, or I need to work on that. Like it helps you release the feelings at the time, and then when you go back to them later, figure out how to manage those feelings. That's one self-care tip I would say. And then there's this app called Shine.
Shine.
Like
Okay.
And it's a Black-owned app.
Okay.
Which is the first like thing that I like about it. But the two women created the app because they found that a lot of like the meditation apps and stuff like that were voiced by other voices that aren't relatable.
Yeah, I love the professionalism. I love it. Go ahead. I love it. Go ahead.
So they created this app, and it's awesome. Like it has everything you could possibly need. They have like a daily shine where it's like a short meditation to get you like ready for the day. You could do journaling on the app. They have like if you have trouble sleeping, if you have anxiety, it's a whole bunch of stuff. So I recommend that everybody. Yeah, everybody should download that app.
Yeah.
And then the last tip I have is all around mindfulness, which that's another buzzword that I think was in 2020. And just like really being mindful of the moment and staying in the moment. Like if that means turning off your phone, turning off the TV and enjoying your family or enjoying your partner or enjoying your friends, whatever, you know, being mindful and being in that space. I did this training maybe like 3 years ago with my best friend. We went on a retreat.
Okay.
And we had to practice mindful eating. So it was.
How did that go?
It was very awkward for me because you couldn't talk, nothing. It was complete silence. All you heard was people scraping their plate and eating. Which
my God! Oh my God! I would have totally freaked out. I hate hearing like forks on teeth or like forks on plate.
It was awful.
Oh my God.
It was awful. So I couldn't like focus on what I was eating because I could hear all of that trauma happening. But yeah, I just like being mindful is really hard, especially today when we're attached to our cell phones and social media is always like buzzing. But I think taking time to just be quiet and like slow your breathing and just focus on whatever you're doing at the moment.
Those were some good tips because we talked you brought up a point about manifestation. So for me in 2020, I was always, oh, I gotta manifest. I gotta put this in the atmosphere. I believe that there is power in your tongue. So if you speak positive or if you speak negative, you're gonna get negative things. So one of my segments even was in my show was manifestation, and we talked about manifestation minute. So do you manifest anything in your life or career or the future of anything?
So I keep saying, I'm probably going to regret what I'm getting ready to say, but I keep saying.
Okay, so pause.
Okay.
Pause and breathe and then talk.
So there's this thing I found called manifesting a soulmate.
Okay.
And I keep saying that I'm going to fill it out. I've had it for months and I have not done that just yet. And I'm starting to wonder if that's why I don't have a soulmate.
Is it like something you write, like an app or something?
So I found it on Pinterest because somebody was talking about it somewhere, and I was like, oh, let me see, what they're talking about. And I found it's like a little picture or a card that you could fill out, like for manifesting a soulmate.
Yeah.
I believe in that. I do believe in the power of the tongue. I do believe that what you put out is going to come back to you. But I think I'm just a little hesitant to fill out that soulmate piece. But I think in 2021, I will do it.
Yeah, go. I mean, it's the year of going for it. Like, honestly, if that's something you want to do, if you feel like that will help in your life or anything of that sort, you go ahead and you do that. I don't know if I would. what I would say is, I would say be open to it. I mean, if it's something that, and pray about it. I would say pray about it. If you if you get a sign like, I need a sign, and it start raining, that's your that's your sign, Kia.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. So, if you don't mind, let's go a little bit into your podcast.
Okay.
Let's talk about that and how the title and everything of that sort.
So the title, I was driving to work one day and I was tired and I was yawning, and I had already thought like I want to do a podcast, but I couldn't think of like what I would call it. And then I yawned and I was like, the sleepy social worker. So
that's a good name though. I like the name.
Thanks. And then a couple of weeks later, I was like, I need a theme song.
Mm-hmm.
And that lullaby song came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
mm-hmm.
So I think I texted. Can I say people's names?
Yeah, you can say his name. Yeah.
Okay. I texted Shaq and I was like, I like wrote that out, like exactly what I just said to you, like the
Mm-hmm.
He called me. What are you talking about? So he said that he didn't do that, but he knew someone that did, and he connected me with Toby.
Mm-hmm. And
then I told Toby that I wanted it like to start off with that little noise and then make it like hip hoppy.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And it was perfect.
Shout out to Toby, because Toby is great. He also did my intro.
It was good.
Go ahead.
Yep. So that's how I came up with that. And then I knew I wanted to talk about social work stuff, but also fun things. So coming soon, I'll have a couple of my friends that are also school social workers. We're going to do like a little show. And then my friend Devin
mm-hmm.
White.
Hey, Dev.
Yeah. He's a school social worker too.
Cool.
And we're going to have a separate show. And then with like those separate shows, we're going to talk about dating as mental health professionals.
Okay.
Because, some people find it hard to date us because they think we're analyzing them, but
they're always thinking.
Yeah.
In people's brains.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm working on. Hopefully this month, maybe I'm thinking my birthday is next week, so I'm thinking I'll launch a few episodes then.
Cool. So I listened to your podcast, and I know you mentioned that each title of an episode is like a song or something.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I love music. So that's
I love it too.
Behind it. And yeah, so I try to I do the episode and then I think, okay, what am I talking about? And then I try to find a song to connect with that. So I think my last episode was Celebration with a question mark after the I can't think of it.
Joe Biden winning?
Yes, that.
Yeah. President-elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Right. And then the week before it was Lift Every Voice and Vote. So everything is song or music related because I love music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So do you see anything? Well, you talked a little bit about your episodes coming up. Mm-hmm. Do you see anything going forward? Do you think you want to go into a career of it, or is it just something it's a passion?
I don't even know if I would call it a passion. It's fun.
Okay.
And I feel like I could I would love to continue doing it. Someone asked me this before and they were like, what's your purpose of doing it? And I was like, so I could be famous, but I don't think I really meant that.
Yeah.
Because I don't, you know me, I'm not I don't want any attention.
Yeah.
None of that, but.
Which is, Kia, can I just say, which is so crazy because you have a profession.
I know.
And being a social worker that you actually talk to a lot of people about their situations with other people.
I know, but it's one-on-one. It's not in front of a crowd of people. And yeah, that just stresses me. But I would love to keep doing the podcast because it's fun for me. I wish I could figure out how to make the episodes longer
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel this way, but like I'll write out a whole episode. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be like a half an hour. I record it. It's 10 minutes. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
So for me, in the beginning when I first started, it was actually for something for school. So we actually had a time requirement.
oh, okay.
And my teacher, actually not get upset, but she would be like, "Oh, can you stick to that time requirement?" And for me, you know me, I'm like, I like to talk. I be going all over the place with my with my thought. I could be talking about A, then jump to Z, and it just But for me, I had to. I guess at that time it was more structured, and now it's just me talking. So I don't know. I'm learning too, kid. I'm starting off. There's not much tips I can give you because you've been doing this longer than me, and I thank you for all the tips you did give me and all the help you did give me.
No problem.
It was a great help.
No problem. Anytime. Yeah,
All right, so just to wrap it up, I got these last two questions because I feel like I want to ask these and if they're important to me. So do you honor anybody through your work or any in everything you do in your life?
That's deep. Yes, I would say. I hope that I'm honoring my grandfather, my mother's father, William Earthy Royster Sr.
Okay.
Because he died. He passed away when I was 16, and he had so much of an influence on my life, before he passed and even afterwards. And I hope, like, every time I think about him, I hope that I'm making him proud. Because he instilled a lot. Like, he made sure I was proud to be Black. Like, don't let anybody ever tell you anything different. Like, you deserve all. He was just a great man. He was a great husband, a great father. I miss him dearly every day.
Yeah.
But I hope that I'm honoring him.
And I don't mean to make you cry or anything, but
I'm cry. Not today.
But that's sweet that you honor him because I feel like that's why one of the reasons why I asked that, because I feel like we all have somebody that we honor. I'm all about legacy and Black excellence. So speaking to you today was important for me because you are a Black social worker, a Black woman. And you mentioned before how some people actually were saying that you were like, wow, I'm so glad I found you. So is there any way for those who are listening, who will listen or who are listening to my podcast, how can they connect with you?
With me. Okay, so they can go to www.journeytopeacellc.com. That's my website. That's probably the easiest way to connect with me. And if they're looking for a therapist, like because I have to just say that if I know you or if I know like your family, I can't be your therapist. Some people get that confused. They could go to www.therapyforblackgirls.com, and there's therapyforblackmen.org.
Okay. So y'all heard those great tips, and I totally went over that. Journey to Peace. Do you have a story for that? How you got that name?
Yes.
Okay.
So it took a while. I knew I wanted to start a private practice. I didn't know what the name was going to be. But I wanted it for people to know, one, that it's for therapy and not like for mental health counseling and not something else. Because usually when I tell people I'm a therapist, they ask me if I'm a physical therapist. I'm like, no, it's mental health. And I just feel like mental health is a journey to peace.
Yeah.
So that's how.
Which is the simplest way to put it.
Yeah, I had like Bridge to Peace. I didn't like that. Originally, I wanted to do Oasis counseling because I feel like when you think about Oasis, like you see it all far in the desert, and you think that it's gonna be water and help you, and you like are constantly searching for that. But somebody had it, so Journey to Peace.
Good. So last question: 3 words to describe Miss Kia Alexander.
Funny,
Okay.
Caring, and quiet.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
No problem.
I really enjoyed it. And y'all make sure y'all go and use and listen to those self-tips and self-care tips that she gave us. Put them into action during this crazy time, because we're already into 2021 and it's still crazy.
Yes.
All the stuff that is going on in the news. And I would say that for me, looking at the news can be very crazy at times. So use this episode to your best value. And thank you once again, Kia.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tamia.
All righty. Bye.
Bye.
Tamia Lee Talks, baby.